Which Mario Kart has the hardest Lightning Cup? Now that's a great question. I have no idea. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please go check out some of my other stuff. Okay, what I meant to say is that I have no idea yet. See, over the last few weeks, I've been smashing my face against the wall as I raced through each Lightning Cup 30 times. During the brief periods where my face wasn't making contact with a concrete wall, I was noting down my placements for each race in the hopes that it'd provide us with an average placement score which I could then use to rank each game's Lightning Cup from easiest to hardest. In the end though, all I've got to show following this experiment are some very mediocre placement scores as well as a light dose of depression. Thankfully, I did arrive at an answer to the initial question posed. But to truly see how all these cups stack up, we'll have to rewind a little bit to one of the first games to ever obliterate friendships. Ah, fuck. Wrong game. That's better. Now, don't let this cutesy title screen fool you. This game is a torture device in disguise. Thankfully, I didn't have to suffer through it this time around, as Super Mario Kart doesn't actually include a Lightning Cup. This carries on into Mario Kart 64, as well as Super Circuit, thank fuck. What's surprising though is that it doesn't even make an appearance in Double Dash. And wait, what do you mean Super Circuit has a Lightning Cup? That can't be right, but Double Dash doesn't have one, so why would Super Circuit have one? Now, it's no secret that I kind of blow at this game. Fuck! And while I have played a lot more recently, mainly because of videos like this one, I'm still kind of dogshit every time I pick it back up.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
Anyway, ignoring the fact that your dad could probably dumpster me in this game, let's see what this first iteration of the Lightning Cup has to offer. Super Circuit opens up with Luigi Circuit, which is arguably one of the hardest, if not the hardest circuit track in the whole franchise. It might not seem like it, but this track has some incredibly sharp turns at times, and while a lot of them can be drifted around with relative ease, the placement of these puddles can cause quite a few problems. Despite them being the only obstacles present on this track, they're so inconspicuous that most of the time you won't even notice you're gunning straight towards them. And due to the already slippery physics of Super Circuit, any attempt at making last minute maneuvers will most likely see you hurtling straight into a tree. I never thought a circuit track would humble me, yet here I am, looking like a complete Mario Kart virgin. Thankfully, I was able to redeem some of that lost gamer cred as we make our way over to Sky Garden. Wait, not this one. Sky Garden is made up of a lot of 90-degree turns, which then lead into long straightaways. This makes navigating the track almost mind-numbingly easy. That being said, the lack of any railings and the track's location in the sky means that if you were having a bad day, you're only one bad drift away from heaven. Even so, the roads are all fairly wide, and as I pointed out in the beginning, the majority of the turns here are extremely easy to drift around. This was reflected in my average placement of 1.2, cementing it as a far easier track than Luigi's Circuit, at least to me. We dive from up high down into the depths of Cheep Cheep Island. This track was the dark horse of the entire cup. I wouldn't blame you if you thought this was an easy track, as it definitely starts that way. These sandy beach sections are so wide open that it's essentially impossible for these crab dudes to pose any danger whatsoever. There's also these, are those fucking goonies? Well, whatever they aren't capable of stopping us. The challenges lie in the second half of the track, where we have to weave our way through the narrow bridge sections. Now, there are railings to stop you from falling into the gigantic Cheep Cheep infested depths, but the acrobatics on display in the background can prove fairly fatal as they draw your attention away from the track itself. With an average placement of 1.63, this one definitely surprised me, and unfortunately, the same can't be said about this last track. Wait, why does this keep fucking happening? Thankfully, we don't have to race on Sun Wilds, and instead get to race on Sunset Wilds. That being said, this is most definitely the easiest track in the entire cup. It's got extremely simple turns, and while the Shy Guys are a fun distraction as they hold on for dear life, their speed slowing capabilities hardly impacted on any of my races. With an average placement of 1.1, Sunset Wilds comes out as possibly the easiest final track of a cup ever. Now to my surprise, Cheep Cheep Beach proved to be the toughest track in the entire Lightning Cup, followed closely by Luigi's Circuit. Overall, I managed to get an average placement of 1.38, which is actually a lot lower than I had expected considering the pain I was going through when racing through a certain track. This pain must have been a common occurrence among playtesters at Nintendo, because the Lightning Cup wouldn't make a return in Double Dash. How shocking.
You suck!
After taking a game off, however, it seems Nintendo thought better than to eviscerate one of the most electrifying cups to date, and lo and behold, the Lightning Cup swiftly returned in Mario Kart DS. DS's Lightning Cup starts off with Choco Island 2, and I'm not sure what it is about these basic ass tracks, they always seem to be the most difficult to drift around. Now a lot of the problems experienced here can be attributed to the slippery nature of the muddy roads as well as the bumps. This ain't Mario Kart Wii or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You can't trick off these bumps. The only purpose these bumps seem to serve is to give you an unobstructed path into a wall or off-road as you awkwardly drift across them. I gotta be honest, drifting around this track felt dreadful in the standard kart, and there were definitely certain laps where I swear I spent more time off-road than on it. As if it was mimicking Super Circuit's Lightning Cup, we move on from one of the tougher tracks to one of the easiest. Banshee Boardwalk? Yeah right, more like a walk in the park, or a walk in the harbour in this case. There's very little going on here. The turns are simple, the actual boardwalks are wide enough to fit all 8 racers across it at the same time, and the one tricky part doesn't even exist, because there aren't any tricky parts to this track. Let's move on to the next track, shall we? Is this joke old yet? Yeah, so we've once again returned to the garden up in the sky, and I'm not sure what else to say. It's literally the same track. Really, the only thing that changed across my races in DS when compared to Super Circuit was that my RNG seemed to be a lot worse. Oh, you fucking... Apart from that though, it's still one of the easiest Lightning Cup tracks. Now while Double Dash didn't get to feature in this video, its tracks do, as this Lightning Cup finishes off with Yoshi's Circuit. This is arguably the best circuit track out of all of them, but the question remains, is it hard? Maybe on 200cc in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Here though, not so much. The track does feature a lot of sharp turns that can prove challenging if you don't drift at just the right angles. That being said though, the lack of any obstacles and the wide roads make for a relatively peaceful drive. So peaceful in fact that I literally stopped driving at the start of lap 3, thinking I had finished already. To my surprise once again, Choco Island proved to be the toughest track out of this whole bunch with an average placement of 1.36. The cup as a whole though was definitely easier than Super Circuits as I averaged a placement score of 1.22. Let's see if we can improve on this even more. To no one's shock, I'm sure, Mario Kart Wii's Lightning Cup starts off with another circuit track. In this case, we're talking about Mario Circuit 3. This track's as classic as you can get, and due to its primitive origins, there aren't too many complex aspects regarding the layout itself. There's essentially one tough turn in the entire track, with the rest of the pain coming from getting railed constantly by items.
This is fucking bullshit.
Luckily for Mario Circuit 3, it's not the easiest track in the cup, as that title belongs to this next one, Peach Gardens. There's a reason people say take a stroll through the garden as a form of relaxation. People do say that, right? Regardless, if you can take a peaceful stroll through the garden, then why not a drive through the garden? As long as you avoid the large flower beds and the harmless chain chomps, there shouldn't be too many problems drifting around this relatively easy track. There are a few critters towards the end, but these dirt roads are so wide that they'd have to introduce planes as drivable vehicles before anyone fell victim to them. Now while I have been told to take a stroll through the gardens, no one has ever told me to take a stroll through the mountains, unless they wanted me dead, and after playing through DK Mountain, I think I know why. What? Wait, what? Okay. Oh my oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Dude, this game fucking sucks. In all seriousness though, this track can be rather hit or miss. The first half of the track is relatively simple. The falling boulders are easy to avoid, and the roads are so wide that even with all the Joy-Con drift in the world, you still wouldn't struggle getting down the mountain. The winding turns to follow, however, now these are a different story. Most of them are built to be drifted around, but this last turn, I'm not sure if I was just coming into it at the wrong angle, but I'd always end up doing this sweet half-pipe run up the wall, before boosting off towards the Bridge of Hell. Speaking of hell, you can always rely on a good old Bowser's Castle track to round out a cup, and this one's just as challenging as the rest of them. It's got all the telltales of a struggle fest, from plenty of areas to fall off, to obstacles that continuously move as you drive towards them. The hallways are narrow, the turns are relatively sharp, and the music is eerily haunting. Not really sure what that last one has to do with anything. Regardless, Bowser's Castle offers a nice climactic challenge and a cup that started off far too easy. Now despite saying that, Bowser's Castle actually shares its spot as the most difficult track with one other, that being DK Mountain. These two tracks help balance out what could have been the easiest Lightning Cup so far. With an average placement of 1.22, it can hold its head high as it at least tied with DS's Lightning Cup in terms of difficulty. The same though can't be said for this next one. Now I don't want to spoil anything, but this might be one of the best track lineups of any cup in any Mario Kart game. We start off with a banger in Cooper Cape, which is, well, it's not really that hard. The roads are oftentimes extremely wide, and while they did add some cheeps in the underwater pipe, these things move so slowly that you'd have to go out of your way to make contact with them. Funnily enough, the toughest part of this track is probably the group of turns towards the start of each lap, as not only are there massive Goombas blocking your path, but the section leads directly into one of the sharper turns in the entire course. Overall though, while it does have a banging theme, it won't be making anyone bang their head against the wall. You know what did make me bang my head against the wall? Dino Jungle. I still can't believe this banger fucking track never made it into 8 Deluxe, and then we get Sky Garden instead. What a catastrophe. Now I really shouldn't be glazing this track, because it proved to be one of the toughest drives in the entire challenge. Now assuming we ignore the adorable dinosaurs that could obliterate you instantly with their stomps, this track still has extremely tight driving sections. The long winding turns are often accompanied by large dark chasms that I can only imagine lead to purgatory. While other tracks have peaceful straightaways or empty long winding turns, this track loves to just fuck you. Its straightaways have obstacles like dinosaurs or water geysers, and its turns have, well, more water geysers. Certain races are just a complete clusterfuck. It doesn't even matter if you get a once in a lifetime lightning dodge, because Karma's a bitch, and you'll be fondled by not one, no fucking shot that just happened, not two, oh just piss off, not 4, but 3 blue shells straight after. I had a miserable time with this track. I hope it returns in Mario Kart 9 though. I told you this cup only included bangers, but don't be fooled. This isn't the piss easy Airship Fortress from DS. Well, I mean it's the same track, but all of its elements have been dialed up a considerable amount. The bullet bills are faster, the basement area is narrower, and the driver still sucks ass. Wait what? Now I honestly have no idea if these are legitimate changes. I'm probably just saying all of this to cope with the fact that I'm worse on this iteration of Airship Fortress. But when red shells are literally flying across the sky at light speeds just to hit you over the top of the head as you come out of the cannon shot. What the fuck? Wait, it literally fucked me from up top. What? There's something seriously wrong here. Overall, this is another decently challenging track. And speaking of challenging tracks, this cup ends with one of the most notorious tracks with regards to difficulty. With that being said, I don't consider SNES Rainbow Road to be all that challenging. Sure, it doesn't have any railings to stop you plummeting to your death, and the thwomps can be pretty annoying, especially with how much space they can cut off towards the end of each lap. Even so, I would consider this one of the easiest Rainbow Roads, purely because of its layout. It's not too long, and the turns themselves are easy enough to drift around. The roads are also fairly wide in Mario Kart 7, making any straightaway without a thwomp pretty relaxing to drive through. At the end of Mario Kart 7's Lightning Cup, Dino Jungle came out as the dark horse of the entire group, with me averaging a placement of 1.63. This was then followed up by Airship Fortress and Rainbow Road. My overall average placement for this cup was an embarrassingly high 1.4, making it the hardest Lightning Cup so far. And with one game left to test, I'd say it's got a very good chance of winning it all. We've now arrived at the most recent Mario Kart game, which was released about 8 years ago, over 10 if you count the original. Let that sink in for a bit, but not for too long, because we're on the clock. The tick-tock clock, to be precise. Man, that's gonna be one of the worst transitions ever. Anyway, I'm just going to come out and say it. This track is incredibly easy. The massive clock faces give you plenty of space to drift around them, the pendulums, despite being cool obstacles, move slower than I do with 3 hours of sleep, and don't even get me started on the long ass glider section, which essentially skips over one of the few areas where you can actually fall off the track. The hardest part is fittingly towards the end of each lap, but even these turns are simple to drift around in most cases. Like the large majority of easy tracks, the only problems you'll be running into are other players' items. Thankfully, things start to pick up with Piranha Plant Slide. This one's definitely a bit trickier, as the roads in the pipes themselves can be extremely narrow. The piranha plants here aren't just massive for show, they come equipped with their own gravitational pull. And no, this isn't some attempt to beat the skill issue allegations. Okay, maybe a little bit. Even if me crashing into them was a skill issue, there's hardly a point to driving around them, as each one comes equipped with a 50 cal. Joking aside, this track offers a decent challenge from its dense and tight start to its windy pipeline finish. Wait, this doesn't look challenging at all. And that's because the pipeline we're looking at now is a godsend from the sponsor of today's video, Odoo. With Odoo's CRM app, you'll be drifting your way to a first place finish in every customer's heart. If we take a closer look, using the Kanban view, you can see that each opportunity is listed as a card that lists all the information you could possibly need. As these opportunities proceed, you're then able to drag these bad boys across the convenient pipeline, updating it in real time for your whole team to see. But wait, it gets even better. Because Odoo are the masters of integration, everything from calls to emails can be instantly scheduled and accessed all from one place, ensuring no miscommunication ever takes place. From forecasting revenue outcomes to crafting professionally looking quotations at the click of a button, there's practically nothing Odoo CRM app can't do with regards to customer management. Now I know you're already itching to click that button in the link down below, but just hold on a second. I haven't even told you the best part. That being that the first app with Odoo is completely free for life. With unlimited support, hosting and maintenance, I don't blame you for thinking that this is all just a dream. I can assure you it's not. Now, don't let me stop you. Go down and click that link in the description below and close those sweet ass deals. Thanks again to Odoo for sponsoring this video.
And now for something completely different.
Here we go again. If you've ever seen one of my Mario Kart videos, I pray that you haven't, then you'll know how much I struggle with this track in particular. This is by far one of the toughest tracks in Mario Kart history, and I'll happily die on that rock, as long as that rock's not somewhere in this volcano's vicinity. Grumble Volcano is unique in the fact that each lap gets tougher than the last. I mean, by the last lap, we're essentially racing on a tightrope. The turns on this track were already sharp enough to begin with, but managing to stop on the road while avoiding Mr. Volcano's throw up as well as these fuckers is easier said than done. Even if you race perfectly, there's a good chance you'll find yourself on the lava somehow. Oh, don't you fucking dare. Oh my fucking god. I can't think of a more fitting track to end this whole challenge on than a Rainbow Road. Unfortunately, it's what I consider to be the easiest Rainbow Road in existence. Now I know you all agree with me, like come on, guys, Mario Kart 64 Rainbow Road, that shit is so easy, right? And because you all agree with me, I'll keep this one short. The roads are wide enough to fit a Boeing 747, the turns are literally built to charge ultra mini turbos, and the chain chomp obstacles while striking never seem to strike you. The majority of the tracks consists of long straightaways, and while it does add a bit of spice towards the end with these windy turns and ooh, no railings, it's still rather simple to navigate through them. To no one's surprise I'm sure, Grumble Volcano fucked me the hardest, with an average placement of 1.5. The rest of the tracks hardly put up a fight however, leading to a total average placement score of 1.175. With every Lightning Cup race through now, I think it's about time we rank them from easiest to hardest. The easiest Lightning Cup through my experience was Mario Kart 8's with an average placement score of 1.175. Essentially, every track here is a complete cakewalk outside of Grumble Volcano. This was then followed up by the Lightning Cups from DS and Wii. Each of these cups seemed to have a balanced array of easy to intermediate tracks, which was reflected in my average placement scores of 1.22. This leaves us with 2 remaining Lightning Cups, and in a shock twist, I found Super Circuit's Lightning Cup to be slightly easier than Mario Kart 7's, although not by much. I think the added complexity in the layouts of the Mario Kart 7 tracks make for a more challenging experience overall, whereas much of the difficulty in Super Circuit's case can be attributed to the slippery controls and my dogshit history with them. That being said, Cheep Cheep Island deserves praise for being the most difficult track alongside Dino Dino Jungle, with an average placement score of 1.63. And there you have it. That is how I'd rank the Lightning Cups from easiest to hardest, based on, or actually racing through them 30 times. If you enjoyed this video, do feel free to leave a like on it. If you hated it, then by all means, drop a fat dislike on it as well. If you're mentally insane, feel free to subscribe, but for everyone else, I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'll see you all in the next one.